Commander Jake Morrison floated through the empty corridors of the HMS Defiance, his boots clicking against the metal floor with each step. The massive warship hung silent in the orbital graveyard above Earth, one of thousands of vessels that had not fired a weapon in over 900 years. Dust covered the control panels and spider webs decorated the corners where artificial gravity generators had long since been shut down to save power. Jake checked his tablet and marked another inspection point complete. His job was simple but boring. Walk through old ships, make sure nothing was broken or stolen, and file reports that nobody would ever read. At 35 years old, he had spent his entire career in what people jokingly called the Museum Navy. Real military action was something his great-great-grandfather might have seen, but Jake had only read about it in history books. The year was 3157, and humanity had enjoyed perfect peace for exactly 1,000 years. Not a single war, not even a small fight between colonies. The Universal Peace Accord of 2157 had ended. The last conflict when Jake's ancestors finally decided that killing each other was stupid and wasteful. Since then, humans had spread across the galaxy like seeds in the wind, building cities on distant worlds and trading with each other instead of fighting. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez often visited the graveyard to study the old ships for her research. She was a historian at the Terran Historical Institute and probably knew more about human warfare than anyone alive. Jake had talked with her many times during her visits, and she always seemed fascinated by weapons that could destroy entire cities or ships that could carry armies between stars. To Jake, they were just old junk that took up space and needed constant maintenance. Earth itself had become a garden world, where people lived peaceful lives and children played in parks that had once been military bases. The old weapons factories now made farming equipment and medical supplies. Fighter pilot training schools had become universities where students learned art and science instead of combat tactics. Even the word war sounded strange to most people, like something from ancient mythology. Captain Amy Foster worked at the Galactic Communications Array on the far side of Earth's moon. Her job was to monitor radio signals from across known space and relay messages between human colonies. Most days she dealt with cargo shipment schedules, weather reports, and family messages sent between distant worlds. The array was powerful, enough to detect signals from the edge of the galaxy, but in 1,000 years of peace, nobody had ever tried to contact humanity with hostile intent. Amy was drinking coffee and reading a novel when her equipment started beeping with an incoming transmission. The signal was strong and clear, coming from somewhere beyond the outer rim of human space. She frowned and adjusted her controls because the transmission was using an old military frequency that had not been active for centuries. The message was short and translated automatically by her computer systems. The voice that came through her speakers was harsh and mechanical, clearly not human. "Attention primitive species known as humans," it said. "I am War Leader Skarov, the hegemony of eternal dominion. Your period of weakness and decay has been observed for many cycles. You have 72 of your standard time units to surrender all territories and submit to our authority. Resistance will result in complete extinction. Your peaceful nature has made you soft and helpless. We have assembled 50,000 warships to ensure your compliance. Submit or die." Amy stared at her screen for several seconds, then played the message again to make sure she had heard it correctly. The computer confirmed that the transmission came from a fleet of unknown ships approaching from deep space. Long-range sensors showed thousands of vessels moving toward human territory at high speed. The ships were large and heavily armed, clearly designed for war. She immediately forwarded the message to Earth's government and military command. Within minutes, her communication board lit up with calls from officials across the solar system. President Helen Carter's office requested a full copy of the transmission. Admiral Peter Collins, who had been retired for decades, asked for detailed sensor readings of the approaching fleet. Even Dr. Rodriguez called to ask if the message mentioned any specific human historical periods. The news spread quickly across human space through the same communication networks that normally carried trade information and family messages. Mining worlds, construction platforms, and research stations, people stopped their work to listen to the alien ultimatum. The reaction was not what anyone might have expected. Instead of panic or fear, most humans found the message amusing. Children giggled when they heard the mechanical voice threatening their parents. Adults made jokes about bug-eyed monsters and compared the aliens to villains from old movies. Comedy shows quickly produced sketches mocking the dramatic tone of the ultimatum. Jake received the alert while he was still inspecting ships in the graveyard. He read the message twice, then looked around at the thousands of dormant warships surrounding him. These vessels had been built by humans who knew how to fight, designed to destroy enemies and protect their crews. For 1,000 years they had collected dust while humanity grew soft and civilized. About his peaceful life and the children playing in Earth's parks. He considered the mining crews who moved asteroids with equipment that could crack planets, the construction workers who built space stations larger than moons, and the researchers who had spent centuries developing technologies that earlier generations could not have imagined. The aliens thought 1,000 years of peace had made humanity weak. They believed that humans had forgotten how to fight and would surrender without resistance. As Jake floated through the empty weapon bays of the HMS Defiance, he wondered if they might be right. Had humanity really become too soft to defend itself? Then he remembered something Dr. Rodriguez had told him during one of her visits. She had explained that humans had never really stopped being dangerous. They had just learned to point their violence in more useful directions. Instead of destroying each other, they had spent 1,000 years building, exploring, and growing stronger. The 72-hour countdown had begun. President Helen Carter stood before the assembled representatives of the United Colonies in the Great Hall of New Washington. The enormous room could hold delegates from all inhabited human worlds, and today every seat was filled. Cameras broadcast her words across the galaxy to billions of people waiting to hear how their government would respond to the alien threat. Helen held the printed transcript of the alien message and tried to keep a serious expression on her face. She had been president for 8 years and had dealt with many crises, but they were usually about trade disputes or resource allocation, not threats of extinction from unknown aliens. She cleared her throat and began to read the ultimatum aloud. "Attention, primitive species known as humans," she said, and immediately several delegates started snickering. "I am war leader Susfar of the hegemony of eternal dominion." More laughter rippled through the assembly. By the time she reached the part about humans being soft and helpless, the entire hall was struggling not to burst into open laughter. When Helen finished reading, she set down the paper and looked at her audience. "Well," she said with a slight smile, "it seems we have visitors who do not understand human history very well." The assembly erupted in applause and laughter that went on for several minutes. On the mining world of Kepler Prime, Foreman Danny Walsh and his crew paused their work to watch the president's address on their portable screens. They were in the middle of moving a small moon to access the rare metals buried in its core, using equipment that could reshape entire landscapes in a matter of hours. When they heard the alien threats, the miners looked at each other and grinned. 50,000 warships, said Danny, wiping grease from his hands with a rag. "That sounds like a lot until you remember that we move asteroids bigger than their ships just to get at some pretty rocks." His crew nodded in agreement. They had spent their entire careers working with machines that could crack open planets or redirect comets. The idea that aliens thought humans were helpless seemed ridiculous. The mining equipment around them hummed with power that could level mountains or carve new valleys. Their industrial fabricators could build anything from computer chips to space stations using nothing but raw materials and energy. Every human colony had similar capabilities because moving between stars and building new worlds required incredible technology and engineering skills. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez found herself in high demand as news networks across the galaxy wanted expert commentary on the situation. She appeared on dozens of shows, explaining human military history to audiences who had never experienced war. Her calm, academic tone made the alien threat seem even more absurd. Many species assume that peace makes a civilization weak, she explained to one interviewer. But humans are unusual. We spent thousands of years perfecting the art of warfare before we finally learned to stop fighting each other. During those centuries, we developed weapons that could destroy entire planets and tactics that could defeat any enemy. We did not forget this knowledge when we made peace. We simply applied it to more constructive purposes. She pulled up historical images showing human conflicts from different eras. Humans have fought wars in space, on planets, underwater, and in dimensions that most species cannot even perceive. We have used every possible weapon and strategy. We have been at war with ourselves for so long that we know every possible way to win or lose a battle. The aliens seem to think that 1,000 years of peace erased this experience, but they are very wrong. Captain Ryan Brooks commanded the merchant vessel Starbound Express, a cargo ship that regularly traveled between human colonies carrying supplies and passengers. When he heard about the alien ultimatum, he was halfway between Earth and the agricultural world of New Eden with a hold full of farming equipment. His crew gathered around the communication console to listen to the news reports. "So," said his engineer Katie Johnson, "space aliens want to conquer us because they think we are too peaceful to fight back?" She shook her head and laughed. "Have they looked at what we do for a living? We routinely travel between stars, terraform entire worlds, and move mass around that most species cannot even imagine." Ryan nodded and gestured toward the cargo bay. "Those farming machines we are carrying can harvest crops from 100 square kilometers in a single day. With minor modifications, they could clear forests, level cities, or dig trenches across continents. Everything humans build has multiple purposes because we learned long ago to be efficient and adaptable." The ship's navigation computer showed dozens of other merchant vessels following similar routes throughout human space. Each one carried cargo that could be quickly converted to military purposes if needed. Industrial equipment, construction materials, mining tools, and manufacturing systems all had potential military applications that their original designers had never forgotten. Admiral Peter Collins sat on the porch of his retirement home on New Eden, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. At 89 years old, he was one of the few humans who remembered the time before perfect peace. He had been a young officer during the final conflicts that led to the Universal Peace Accord, and he understood warfare in ways that younger generations could not. His communication device chimed with an urgent message from Earth's military command requesting his immediate consultation on the alien threat. Peter read the alien ultimatum carefully, then made several calls to colleagues who had also served during the transition to peace. They discussed technical details that would have sounded boring to most people but represented the foundation of human military capability. Later that evening, Peter's granddaughter visited him for dinner as she did every week. She was worried about the aliens and asked if humanity was really in danger. Peter smiled and patted her hand gently. "Child," he said, "humans spent thousands of years learning how to destroy things efficiently. We built weapons that could crack planets and strategies that could defeat gods. Then we spent 1,000 years learning how to build things efficiently instead. We became better at construction, engineering, and problem-solving than any species has ever been. These aliens think peace made us weak, but they do not understand that peaceful humans are the most dangerous humans who have ever existed." Across human space, the reaction continued to be laughter and amusement rather than fear. Comedy shows produced sketches about incompetent aliens who could not do basic research. Social media filled with jokes about the 72-hour deadline and speculation about what humans would do to the alien fleet. As the 72-hour deadline approached, humanity began what looked like casual preparation for war. The process seemed relaxed and unhurried, as if humans were getting ready for a weekend camping trip rather than a fight for survival. Across the galaxy, people went about their normal routines while making small adjustments that would have terrified the aliens if they had understood what they were seeing. Admiral Peter Collins arrived at the orbital command station above Mars, traveling on a simple passenger shuttle that took 3 days to make the journey. He carried a single bag of personal items and spent most of the trip reading historical files and tactical manuals that had not been opened for centuries. Other passengers recognized him but treated him like any other elderly traveler, offering him snacks and helping him with his luggage. General Kate Murphy met him at the docking bay with a small escort of ceremonial guards. She was the current head of colonial defense, a position that mostly involved organizing parades and maintaining historical monuments. Kate had trained for war but never expected to experience it. She briefed Peter on humanity's current military capabilities while they walked through corridors lined with portraits of ancient battles. "We have approximately 12 active warships scattered across human space," she explained. "They are used primarily for training exercises and ceremonial duties. Most of our weapons are in storage or have been converted to civilian purposes. Our current military personnel number about 50,000, mostly involved in logistics and support roles." Peter nodded and asked questions about industrial capacity, resource availability, and transportation networks. Kate's answers revealed the true scope of human civilization. During the 1,000 years of peace, humanity had built an infrastructure that spanned thousands of star systems. Automated factories, mining operations, and construction platforms operated continuously to support billions of people living on distant worlds. The awakening began quietly in shipyards that had been dormant for centuries. These massive facilities had been built during humanity's expansion phase to construct the vessels needed for interstellar colonization. They possessed the capability to produce warships at an incredible rate, but for hundreds of years they had been manufacturing cargo vessels, passenger liners, and research platforms instead. Engineer Tim Bradley led a team of specialists to the HMS Defiance, the same ship that Commander Jake Morrison had been inspecting when the crisis began. Tim's job was to restore the ancient dreadnought to operational status, a task that should have taken months or years under normal circumstances. However, humanity's technological advancement during the peace period had created capabilities that even Tim did not fully understand. As they powered up systems that had been dormant for a millennium, Tim discovered that human technology had continued evolving even when it was not being used for military purposes. Civilian innovations in energy production, materials science, and computer systems had created potential weapons far beyond anything the original designers had imagined. The MS Defiance had been powerful when it was built, but with modern upgrades, it became something that could challenge entire fleets. The restoration process attracted attention from Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, who arrived to document the historical significance of returning the ship to service. She interviewed Tim and his team while they worked, recording their comments about the differences between ancient and modern human technology. "The original designers built this ship to fight other humans," Tim explained while installing new control systems. "They knew exactly what they were facing and designed accordingly. But we have spent 1,000 years dealing with problems that require much more creative solutions. Moving between stars, building cities on hostile worlds, and creating sustainable civilizations demanded innovations that no military engineer ever considered." Dr. Rodriguez published her observations in a research paper that quickly became famous across human space. She explained that humanity's peaceful period had not weakened their military potential but had instead created abilities that no warlike species could match. The paper went viral on communication networks throughout the galaxy, eventually reaching alien monitoring stations that had been tasked with studying human reactions to the ultimatum. The alien hegemony grew increasingly nervous as their scouts reported impossible readings from human space. Entire asteroid belts were being moved and reshaped overnight. Space stations the size of small moons appeared seemingly from nowhere. Most disturbing of all, humans continued to laugh about the invasion threat while casually performing feats of engineering that violated several known laws of physics. Captain Amy Foster began coordinating with colonies across human space, activating communication networks that revealed the true scope of human expansion. During the 1,000 years of peace, humanity had spread to tens of thousands of worlds, establishing a civilization that spanned half the known galaxy. Each colony possessed industrial capabilities that exceeded the total output of most entire species. The coordination effort revealed resources and capabilities that even human leaders had not fully appreciated. Mining operations could extract materials faster than entire planets could consume them. Construction platforms could build space stations larger than most species' homeworlds. Transportation networks could move armies or entire populations between star systems in matters of days. On the manufacturing world of New Detroit, production lines that normally created household appliances and entertainment systems began producing components for military equipment. The workers made the transition smoothly because the underlying technology was essentially the same. Building a washing machine or a missile guidance system required similar skills and materials, just applied to different purposes. Factory manager Bob Turner coordinated the changeover with the casual efficiency of someone adjusting a recipe for a larger dinner party. His workers had been building complex machinery for decades and found military equipment to be simpler and more straightforward than many civilian products they normally produced. "The aliens want to see our warships," Bob told his shift supervisors during their daily planning meeting. "So we will build them some warships. Nothing fancy, just basic models that can fly fast and hit hard. Should take about a week to retool our production lines and maybe another week to build the first batch." Similar conversations were happening on thousands of worlds throughout human space. Peaceful civilians were calmly preparing to defend themselves with an efficiency that would have seemed impossible to outside observers. The preparation process looked casual and relaxed because humans had been building and maintaining advanced technology for so long that warfare seemed like just another engineering problem to solve. The 72-hour deadline approached while humanity's true capabilities slowly became visible to anyone who knew how to look. The alien fleet arrived at the edge of human space exactly 72 hours after delivering their ultimatum. War leader Star commanded the invasion force from his flagship, a massive vessel that had conquered dozens of species across the galaxy. His 50,000 ships spread across multiple star systems in formations that had proven successful against every enemy they had ever faced. Scar expected to find desperate defenders or terrified civilians begging for mercy. Instead, his sensors detected Admiral Peter Collins aboard the newly recommissioned flagship USS Liberty, accompanied by a human fleet that seemed to have appeared from nowhere. The human ships looked strange and mismatched, as if they had been built by different species or from spare parts found in various junkyards. The battle began with the aliens' opening bombardment, a devastating attack that had destroyed entire civilizations in previous campaigns. Scar watched with satisfaction as his weapons tore through the first wave of human ships, reducing them to expanding clouds of debris and superheated gas. For several minutes, alien commanders felt vindicated. In their assessment of human weakness, this confidence evaporated rapidly when the true nature of human tactics became apparent. The destroyed ships had been unmanned decoys designed to test alien weapons and gather tactical information. While the aliens celebrated their easy victory, human observers analyzed the attack patterns and adjusted their defenses accordingly. Commander Jake Morrison led a squadron of fast attack vessels that had been converted from civilian mining ships just hours before the battle began. These craft looked like industrial equipment because that was exactly what they were, but their mining lasers proved equally effective against alien armor. The aliens discovered that equipment designed to cut through solid rock could slice through their strongest defensive plating like paper. Jake's ship, the former asteroid processor Happy Digger, closed rapidly with an alien destroyer that outmassed it by 10 to 1. The alien captain tried to intercept the approaching human vessel with defensive fire, but Jake's ship was designed to operate in debris fields and asteroid storms. Dodging energy beams was actually easier than avoiding flying rocks during a normal mining operation. The Happy Digger's main cutting laser fired once, carving through the alien destroyer from bow to stern with surgical precision. The alien ship broke apart and exploded, its crew never understanding how a mining vessel had destroyed their warship so easily. Jake marked the target as eliminated and moved on to find another enemy, Treating the battle like just another day at the office, General Kate Murphy coordinated the defense from a command center that had been disguised as an agricultural research station. The facility actually was a working farm that supplied food to nearby colonies, but it also contained the most advanced tactical computers that human science could produce. Kate's staff analyzed the battle in real time, identifying alien weaknesses and distributing countermeasures to human forces. Across multiple star systems, the 1,000 years of peace had allowed humans to develop technology without the limitations imposed by military thinking. Scientists and engineers had been free to pursue pure research and creative solutions to complex problems. The result was innovation that seemed magical to alien observers, who had spent the same period focused only on building bigger weapons and stronger armor. The battle unfolded across multiple star systems, simultaneously as human forces revealed the true scope of their preparation. Colonies that the aliens thought were defenseless farming communities turned out to be fortified positions with planetary defense systems that could destroy entire fleets. Research stations transformed into weapons platforms armed with experimental devices that violated alien understanding of physics. Captain Ryan Brooks demonstrated human adaptability by using his cargo ships industrial fabricators to produce ammunition and spare parts during combat. The Starbound Express had been carrying farming equipment when the war began, but its manufacturing systems could build anything from computer chips to missile warheads. Using raw materials from the ship's cargo holds, Ryan's crew worked efficiently, while enemy fire exploded around their ship, treating the battle like an interesting technical challenge rather than a life-or-death struggle. Engineer Katie Johnson coordinated production schedules while simultaneously manning defensive weapons that had been installed just hours earlier. The alien fleet faced an enemy that could literally manufacture reinforcements faster than they could destroy them. The most shocking revelation came when Dr. Lisa Rodriguez broadcast a message to the alien fleet explaining humanity's true nature. She appeared on communication screens throughout the Hegemony Armada, speaking calmly while explosions and weapons fire provided dramatic background effects. "We appreciate your concern about human military capabilities," she said while human ships tore through alien formations behind her. "However, your intelligence appears to be incomplete. Humans did not become peaceful because we forgot how to fight. We became peaceful because we became too good at fighting. We mastered warfare so completely that we realized it was inefficient and wasteful." She gestured toward historical images showing human conflicts from different eras. "We have fought every conceivable type of war against every imaginable enemy, including ourselves. We learned to win battles in space, on planets, in other dimensions, and inside computer simulations. We developed weapons that could destroy universes and tactics that could defeat gods. We stopped fighting not because we were weak, but because we were too dangerous to ourselves and everyone else." The alien fleet command structure began to collapse as their carefully planned formations were systematically destroyed by human forces that seemed to operate according to completely different rules of warfare. Ships that should have been helpless cargo vessels proved capable of destroying heavy cruisers. Space stations that appeared to be research facilities unleashed weapons that could crack planets. War leader Scar found himself trapped between human forces that attacked from every direction simultaneously. His flagship was surrounded by vessels that looked like construction equipment but fought with the coordination and efficiency of a military that had spent centuries perfecting their art. The humans were not just defeating his fleet, they were making it look easy. The battle lasted less than 6 hours. When it ended, 3/4 of the alien invasion force had been destroyed or captured, while human casualties were minimal. The hegemony of Eternal Dominion, which had conquered half the galaxy through superior technology and ruthless tactics, found itself completely outmatched by a species they had dismissed as weak and harmless. In the aftermath, Admiral Collins broadcast a message to the surviving alien ships, offering them the opportunity to surrender with honor rather than face complete annihilation. The response was immediate and unanimous acceptance. The war ended not with humanity's victory celebration, but with an immediate offer of medical assistance to wounded alien survivors. Human rescue ships arrived at disabled alien vessels within hours of the ceasefire, bringing doctors, engineers, and supplies to help former enemies who had expected to be executed or enslaved. The aliens found themselves receiving better treatment as prisoners than they had given to their own wounded during the battle. War leader Scar sat in a human medical facility recovering from injuries sustained when his flagship was disabled. Human doctors had worked for 6 hours to save his life using techniques and equipment far more advanced than anything the hegemony possessed. He expected interrogation, torture, or at minimum imprisonment in harsh conditions. Instead, he received excellent medical care and visits from human officials who seemed genuinely interested in preventing future conflicts. President Helen Carter arrived at Harmony Point, a neutral space station that had been hastily constructed for peace negotiations. The facility was built in just 3 days using human construction technology that assembled entire structures from raw materials faster than most species could plan a building project. The station provided comfortable accommodations for representatives from both sides, along with meeting rooms equipped with translation technology that made communication effortless. The peace talks began with Carter explaining humanity's terms for ending the conflict. The alien representatives expected harsh demands for tribute, territory, or technological secrets. Instead, they received an offer that none of them had anticipated. "We propose integration rather than conquest," Carter explained to the assembled alien leadership. "Your species joined the hegemony because you needed protection and resources that your homeworlds could not provide. Humanity can offer the same benefits without requiring you to participate in aggressive warfare against innocent civilizations." She presented detailed plans for converting former hegemony worlds into human protectorates. The aliens would retain control of their home governments and cultural institutions while gaining access to human technology, trade networks, and defensive capabilities. In exchange, they would agree to abandon aggressive expansion and contribute to a new galactic peacekeeping organization. Admiral Peter Collins worked with alien military leaders to establish the Galactic Defense Force, an organization that would include personnel from all species willing to participate. The new force would be designed to prevent misunderstandings like the recent conflict while providing collective security against genuine threats from outside the galaxy. "Your species are experienced warriors," Peter explained to a group of former hegemony commanders. "We do not want to waste that experience or leave you feeling useless in a peaceful galaxy. The Defense Force will need soldiers, strategists, and leaders who understand warfare well enough to prevent it. You can serve with honor while building something better than an empire based on conquest." The former alien commanders found themselves impressed by human military organization and tactical thinking. They had expected primitive barbarians, but discovered sophisticated professionals who treated warfare as a science requiring careful study and precise application. Human officers shared tactical manuals, strategic concepts, and historical examples that opened entirely new approaches to military thinking. Captain Ryan Brooks returned to his cargo runs between human colonies, but now his passenger manifest included alien scientists, diplomats, and students eager to learn about human civilization. The integration process proceeded smoothly as aliens discovered that humans were naturally inclined toward cooperation and mutual benefit despite their fearsome military capabilities. Ryan's ship carried alien families to new homes on human worlds, where they could live peacefully while contributing their own knowledge and skills to local communities. His cargo holds contained alien art, literature, and scientific equipment alongside human-manufactured goods, creating the foundation for cultural exchange that would enrich both species. Engineer Tim Bradley led the effort to decommission military vessels and return them to storage, but the process was different this time. The lessons learned during the brief war ensured that humanity would never again be caught unprepared for galactic threats. The ships would be maintained in ready condition, and training programs would keep human military skills sharp without requiring actual warfare. Tim also worked with alien engineers to upgrade their technology and teach them human manufacturing techniques. Many aliens were amazed by human industrial capabilities and eager to learn how peaceful societies could develop such advanced engineering skills. The technology transfer program created partnerships that benefited everyone involved while reducing the likelihood of future conflicts. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez began work on a comprehensive history of the recent war and its aftermath. Her research would become the foundation for understanding how peaceful species could maintain the capability for self-defense without becoming aggressive or militaristic. The book would be studied by historians and military theorists throughout the galaxy for generations. The thousand-year peace did not make humans weak, she wrote in her introduction. It made them incredibly strong by allowing them to develop capabilities that warlike species could never achieve. Humans learned that the greatest victory is the war that never needs to be fought, and the strongest military is one that prevents conflicts rather than winning them. Commander Jake Morrison returned to his duties maintaining historical warships, but now his job included training alien visitors who wanted to understand human military history. The orbital graveyard above Earth became a pilgrimage site for former enemies who sought to learn how humans had developed such effective peaceful strength. Jake often gave tours to mixed groups of human children and young aliens, explaining how the ancient ships represented humanity's journey from a warlike species to galactic peacekeepers. The children asked questions that revealed how completely the integration process had succeeded in creating friendship between former enemies. The story concluded with a ceremony marking the first anniversary of the failed alien invasion. Representatives from dozens of species gathered on Earth to sign the Galactic Peace Charter, a document that established permanent cooperation between all civilized worlds. The charter created institutions for preventing future conflicts while protecting the rights and cultures of every member species. President Carter spoke to the assembled delegates about the lessons learned from the recent crisis. "We discovered that peace is not weakness and strength is not aggression," she said. "The greatest military victory is creating a galaxy where military force is never needed. The strongest species are those that lift others up rather than conquering them." The ceremony ended with alien children playing alongside human children in the same parks where Earth's citizens had lived peacefully for over 1,000 years. The former hegemony of eternal dominion had been transformed into the alliance of eternal peace, with humanity serving as protectors and mediators for a galaxy that had finally learned to choose cooperation over conquest. The thousand-year peace had become something greater, a foundation for galactic civilization that would last forever.